Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I'm your host, Stacey J. Dempsey, and thankfully, like always, I am joined by the other daughter, Jennifer, and the one and only forever and ever Dad. Good morning to the both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good snowy morning.
Yes, here in New Jersey, we did get some snow/ice that apparently puts everything on delay, but not this podcast. Here we come.
That's
All
right.
right. We're doing it. How about it? So yes, good morning to all of you, wherever you are listening from. Today, we want to talk a little bit about competition. And this idea kind of sparked from the hype, the so much hype around these pink and red Stanley Cups. If you haven't heard, then well, you're about to hear it now. So allegedly, these pink and red Stanley Cups that are limited edition, that if you were going to Target, you would have to stand in line outside overnight to get this Stanley Cup. And only one per guest. You could not swing Diggle to get two of them. Absolutely not. Okay. They were holding them. It was in a locked cage. I mean, this was serious stuff. And so it got me thinking about competition and just learning a little bit about Stanley the brand. And so Stanley the brand has been around for a very, very long time, and they were really notorious with construction workers because, as you may know, Stanley will keep your item hot or very cold. And so it really got me thinking about, well, how did we take the evolution of this Stanley, and now today there's so much competition around these Stanley-like cups. You know, we're all kind of familiar with the word dupe. I got a dupe for this. I got a dupe for that. You don't have to pay this. You don't have to pay that. And so it kind of also got me thinking about our businesses that we're in. And it really got me thinking about perhaps those that may really want to start a business, and maybe they're getting the feedback that there's just too much competition in that area. So I wanted to start this conversation today because Dempsey Weiss and J Faith Hair Studio, clearly, even in distance wise proximity, we have competition, right? Right, Dad? We've always had competition. Jennifer clearly has competition, at least in our area here. But I think there's some things that really we could share with our listeners today about healthy competition, and then also realizing that it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter in the long run. So this Stanley Cup, one of the things that I was listening to another podcast. I do listen to other podcasts besides ours. Not very often. I usually just keep ours on repeat all the time, as should you all. But the Stanley Cup, what they decided was that, you know what? We don't necessarily need to worry about price. We don't need to worry about, maybe the audience. All we need to do is we need to shift who we're marketing to. We need to change our audience. We don't need to change what we're doing. We just need a brand new audience. And that has now, the last that I Googled, Stanley Cup is making, just on their limited edition red and pink cups. I mean, we're talking like $25 million. $25 million. Not
Yeah.
off of a new idea, just off of a new audience. And so I think that can be really encouraging to those that may be thinking to start a business. So Jen, I wanted to ask you, 7 or 8 years ago when we were sitting at my kitchen table trying to map out the salon with water bottles in my living room where the stations would be. In that very beginning process, did you have anyone talk to you about competition or bring up competition? Or, I know that we spent a lot of time looking at where to make home at for the studio, but I'm curious as to what your thought process was around this area.
Yeah, interesting, especially in the beauty industry. There's such a negative light on competition. I think that there's so much, like you have to hate the next salon or you have to hate the next hairdresser. And there's just this toxic energy that comes along in our beauty industry. And, we've been trying to change that. And especially with the new methods and the new way that I'm doing business, I'm definitely trying to change that because, you know, instead of being in competition with each other, there's a real opportunity to come together and network with one another. And unfortunately, our industry does not do that well. Um, so yeah, I would say when I was thinking about opening, my business, it was that competition was already bred within me from, when I grew up in the industry, right? But I wouldn't necessarily say, Dad, when we were looking at locations to put the salon, it had nothing to do with anyone else. It really came from what would be a good location for my salon. Me and Dad were more worried about things like great parking, great location, visibility from the road, signage. I mean, things like that. And so, no, I wouldn't say necessarily competition really goes into it. I think when we talk about competition with inside of a business, it's healthy to understand your competition, but I think it can become unhealthy when we take our vision only onto the competition. And we're so worried about keeping up with the next person that we lose ourselves and what we're trying to do. So me and Dad talk about this all the time of understanding competition. And, it's still okay to understand what are they, charging, what are they doing, how are they doing it? But that should not dictate necessarily how you do it. If you have a salon and everybody's charging $40 for a haircut and you come in and you charge 60, that could be like, oh, I should be $40 because that's what everyone else is doing. And that's just untrue.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. Go ahead, Dad. You were leaning in and
Yeah. Well, right. And it reminds me what Jen was describing there about, not losing yourself and your identity in your business because of what the competition's doing. It reminds me of the story of Truett Cathy, who was the founder of Chick-fil-A. And I read a story where, the franchise was really starting to take off, and chicken sandwich was obviously the flagship product for Chick-fil-A. And then all of a sudden, these fast food burger places were getting on the bandwagon with chicken sandwiches, Wendy's and McDonald's, and they were all coming out. Well, they're in a boardroom and people are like, oh, well, now we have all this competition and, what are we going to do? We need to maybe lower our prices. And, they're just going back and forth. And the way the story goes is all of a sudden, Truett Cathy slams his hand down on the table and just brings the room to silence. And he said, all we have to do is get better and we'll win. And that was it. And so, or just keep getting better and we'll win. And so, but he was wise enough to know these people, and they're probably all, MBAs from Harvard, are saying, get cheaper, do promotions, do all these things, to keep up. And he saw that that's not who we are, and we don't have to do that. So that was an excellent point of not allowing your competition to frame who you are. You start with who you want to be, what your why is, what you want your business, and you build around that. You build around it with conviction, and those other competitive things are not going to matter. And if it does matter to someone, you probably don't want them maybe as a customer or client anyway, because that's not who you are. So,
I love this conversation because I was just talking to another stylist and I asked this question of why do clients want to sit in your chair? Why do customers want to come inside of your business? And so she didn't necessarily have an answer when I asked that question. I said, okay, ask me. So Stace, ask me the question. Why do clients want to sit in my chair?
Jennifer, why do clients want to sit in your chair?
Because I know that I'm going to give the best customer service. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to come in early. I'm going to stay late. And so that's why people want to do business with me, because I truly care about my clients and the customer service and the experience. And now when I explain that to someone, I say, now notice, it had nothing to do with the actual craft of doing hair. I didn't say I'm the best hairstylist. I can give the best haircut. I can do the best. None of that. And that's why I believe myself and my salon is successful, because we truly go the extra mile. We focus on the small things, and that separates us from the competition without thinking that it's separating us from the competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I first started doing hair, especially when I opened the salon, I used to say all the time, like, it doesn't matter. I'll cut your cat's hair. Like, I'm just here to cut hair and make money, right? And so as you evolve in your business, or I think it was like braid your cat's tail, something like that. I was just trying to make money doing hair. It didn't matter what hair it was.
Yeah.
And so as you evolve, now it's like, well, I'm not cutting kids' hair anymore. And I'm not going to do these kinds of services because I'm just not passionate about them. I'm going to focus on what I'm good at, what I love to do, what I'm passionate, and I'm going to be the one that's charging the most to do it. And so that's not going to be the right fit for everyone, for every client, for every consumer. But there's other places out there that can cater to them. It just might not be me. So you can see how, if I was so focused on the competition, then I would still have that mindset of it doesn't matter, I'll braid your cat's tail just because I have to do hair. Now, I would be still stuck in that same mindset. But as you evolve, it doesn't matter what other hairstylists or other salons are doing. I'm solely focused on what I'm good at, what I have to offer, and attracting the people that really want an amazing experience, and I'm going to charge top dollar for it. So before it was like, I want to do everyone's hair, and now it's like, I want to do 3 people's hair, and it's going to be amazing from start to finish. And then they're going to go tell 3 more people. So, that's the difference. So for anyone that's starting in business or maybe starting a new business opportunity, it's okay to have that mindset, that hustle mentality, because whether you want to or not, as you grow inside of your business, your mind grows too. And you change kind of how you think about yourself, your business, your why, and especially your competition.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jen. It reminds me of when, several years ago I had joined a BNI networking group. And I had a great experience with BNI. It's a commitment. It's a commitment to honing in on your craft and being able to explain how you can help others so that those people in that group can then refer you to people that they're doing business with. And so the way that you do that is through one-on-ones. And I was sitting with, my category was life insurance. And so I was meeting with another insurance professional that was in the group, and they did homeowners and auto. And when I shared with her that I was a captive agent, that I work for one company, and she goes, oh, well, what if like and this was in reference to like homeowners and auto. Well, what if you get someone and like it's higher, like you can't go to another company? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm not for everyone.
Right.
I'm not for everyone in that area. Like and what I found through more conversations with her was that could she write policies with lots of different companies? Yes. However, she had no client loyalty. Even with she had no relationship with her peers inside of those insurance companies that she would work with. And so did she have the ability to work with other companies? Absolutely. But the things that I could offer to a client, being able to call and have a relationship with a peer at American National, and be able to do, ask for certain things, you know do I have amazing clientele that has, I mean, at this point, 20, those are the things that, again, I'm not going to fit for everyone, and that's okay. But the fearfulness that this woman had of,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like you might lose a client, yeah, and not have anywhere to put that, yeah, yeah,
Right.
because my niche is my niche, and you know, there's arguments on both sides, but it clearly has worked for over 35 years, as you can see from, Dempsey Weiss and Associates. So, Dad, you're leaning in. I know you have something here when it comes to competition, because in our world, there are things out of our control when it comes to the property and casualty side of, just pricing and things like that. But also, I mean, you have clients that have been with you for 35 or more years. And I think to what Jennifer spoke to about experience, that clients know that they get when they have you as their advisor, and they have you to go to help them with issues.
Well, before I dive into that, I remember back when Dave and I started Dempsey Weiss Associates, and basically we're just out, you know, pounding on doors, and our niche market at the time was farms, and still is today. But we're just driving up and down farm lanes and knocking on doors and chasing farmers down in the fields. As their tractors plowing and whatever we had to do, so we were hungry and we were out there really pounding the pavement, and we did hit a couple of insurance agencies fairly hard in terms of taking business from them. And I remember this one agent, and they had been, these client people have been clients with them for years. So now all of a sudden, they're losing these clients. And so the one agent's calling up the clients and saying this: well, you're going from a Cadillac to a pickup. That's what she said to the clients. And so again, nothing about, well, here's who we are, here's nothing, it was all about, us versus them. She's the Cadillac, we're the pickup. Now, just think about how stupid that was, because most of these people were farmers, right? So what was their response? They were like, well, you know what? Quite frankly, I'm more comfortable in a pickup than a Cadillac anyway.
Right.
How
You
about
know? And so, so again, that's the way not to do it. That's the reason for that story, is you don't call people up and badmouth the competition.
yeah,
You call them and say, like we just described here, here's why, we feel like you should stay and do business with us. But, when it comes to, just all the longevity and keeping clients for a long period of time, really um, the key to, no matter what type of business you're in, if you're in our type of business, Jen's type of business, it really doesn't matter, is how are you delivering value? How are you delivering value to, the end user of your product, your service, your client, your customer? Because the more that they see the value over and above, kind of what they're paying for, then certainly, price becomes much less of an issue. As Jen said, her clients are going to be willing to pay more for the service because they know that they're going to get an exceptional experience, and not an experience to just last for the hour or 2 hours they're in the salon, that when they walk away, that's going to go with them. So, we try, to always be bringing value and investing back into our clients. I think that is a great mindset, is to how can I invest back into my customer and my client? It comes down to if you went to the bank and said, went up to the teller and said, I want to withdraw $10,000 from the bank. And the teller looks at you and say, well, the only problem is you don't have any money in here. There's nothing to withdraw. But so if we take that and think, all right, how am I investing in my customer, my client? So then when it comes time to ask for a withdrawal or a sale or a service, you've invested into that client, that you've earned the right to make that withdrawal. You've earned the right to make that ask. And I just think that if people can, and if entrepreneurs can think invest, influence, impact, those are going to be really meaningful. How can I invest in my client to influence, how they make their decisions? And then what kind of impact can I promise if they make the decision that breaks into my favor? And I think if entrepreneurs can think that way consistently and build their business, competition is not going to be an issue.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And if you guys think back to, some other episodes that we've had with Misty Solomon of Devour Desserts, again, she opened up a bakery, she opened up a candy shop, close proximity to other competition, whether it was the big name stores, where you can go into, your supermarket and get a cake. You can go into the CVS's and the Walgreens to get candy. But even now, her idea wasn't revolutionary. She had a why, she was passionate, and she was also cultivating an audience online at that point for years. She had been on social media, she had changed hats a couple of times, if you remember her story. Until she just decided that she was going to take her passion and make it a business. And, thankfully, Misty is a client of mine, and just recently talking with her, she's like, I can't hire enough people. I mean, just my audience, my customers, they come back, they come into the store. They always like, they can order something online. They come in, they talk to someone, they can walk in and buy something if it was last minute. She's thriving. And again, her audience just happens to be different than those that want to walk in on a Saturday morning to buy sheet cake for their kid or whatever it is. And also Madi Still, Be Still Nutrition. She shared when we had her on as a guest that a lot of people were saying, I mean, you're going to sell shakes. You're going to create like acai bowls. Like I can go to, there's another place in close proximity to you that does that. And again, she is someone that is she selling shakes and teas and acai bowls? Yes, but her audience is different. What she brings, what she offers when you come into, her business of having someone that can help you be accountable if you want to be healthier. She has free, resources online that anyone can go on and get. I mean, she's constantly bringing a different mindset and a different, she's bringing a lot of value to people that come into her business. And so, yeah, she's rocking it now. Her little shake shop that people told her like that seems like that's going to be really hard to do. And I think she has like last year she went on like 6 vacations and and living her best life off of not a revolutionary idea. And so I think that those are just very motivating stories. And, the last story that comes to mind that I had heard years ago, if you are familiar with the brand Skinny Girl, it's by Bethany Frankel. And for years, she had this idea of lower calorie popcorn. Lower calorie popcorn, lower, making sure that you love your food and being healthy. And she was going around broke, and she was going into supermarkets just doing small cooking episodes. And she went to lots of places to try to get capital, and finally someone said, after I think 15 years, they said, we love what you're doing, all of your ideas. We're going to buy your idea from you for $35 billion. How about it?
Billion with a B?
B. Now she has lots of products. Now she's on as a consultant. So if you want a skinny girl margarita, again, you can go, like, not revolution. And you know what? My whole point of this story is that someone asked her about competition and she goes, now she has a potty mouth. I won't say it here, but she goes, I never once even looked. I knew what I wanted to do. And I put all of my effort into my ideas and what I knew would work and what I knew would sell. And I had talked to enough people. I had enough knowledge and I just kept going, and I've been rejected, rejected, rejected. I've probably been rejected thousands of times. It only took that one time. And
Yeah.
now, if all of those rejections led to $135 billion, was it worth it? Yeah,
I would say
absolutely. And
so.
again, skinny girl margarita, skinny girl popcorn, all the stuff that you can find on the shelves. And but she knew her why, and she did the hustle. She didn't look at the competition not once, and she just kept going forward. And so so kind of bringing this back around to my original thought of Stanley Cup, it was just a different audience. It was simply just a different audience, creating some get it now or you're not going to get it. And just doing what was already working. And here they are, a pink and a red cup, a pink and a red cup. And they're making millions of dollars off of limited edition pink and red cups. So
Yeah. And it is interesting. Again, that just something, because I wasn't even aware of that whole scenario until you just shared it, Stacy. But then when I'm thinking about that, then you have like Yeti that's been out there a long time, and I think they're fairly successful. I mean, and they're certainly not an inexpensive product, but very good. But yet, that's a competition out there that's, they figured out a way, to, again, I guess the special edition just drew all this attention. But, so I guess the point being is that, also thinking creatively around your product and service, and how you can, again, make market penetration, looking at other ways maybe than what the norm would be as far as product advertising and those kind of things too. So yeah, it's interesting times when it comes to the ability to, to really compete, because of, um, technology and all these different things that we have at our fingertips now.
yeah, so for those that are thinking, well, there's other things in my area that do this, or maybe people are saying, maybe projecting their fears onto you. No, competition is always going to be out there. New competition. When Dad started, the business, there was no online get an insurance quote, right? So here's a new level of competition. But the singular factor that's the difference is you, and what are you going to bring to the people that you want to do business with? How
Sure.
are you going to make them want to do business? How are you going to stand out? There are people that there's lots of competition in the insurance world, but guess what? If they go somewhere else, they don't get Jack Dempsey. You can
Yeah.
go to another hairstylist, but you don't get Jennifer Faith.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. That is the difference. And especially when things are not so good, that's when people want you to show up. So if my Stanley Cup breaks, guess what? They send me another one because there's a lifetime warranty. Maybe
Yeah.
Yeti doesn't have that. I don't know,
I
but
don't
those are
know.
the things that stand out. And so you are the thing that stands out, and you are in control of what you want to make your idea into a business. And you certainly can do that. So good luck to all of my Stanley-like friends. We are out here just getting rejected, and we're limited edition, and we're headed towards our $35 billion buyout. So let's keep going. How
Keep
about it?
going. I love it.
Love it. Love it. So Thank you all for listening. We will talk to you guys soon. And until then, we want you to be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. We'll see you guys in the next episode.